Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spokane Man podcast. KGC here, and today I am talking to somebody that's not really a concert, you know, he doesn't really do a lot, in the concerts. He books the concerts and goes to them and watches them all develop. He just books them all and puts them all together.
Just
Please give
spend
it.
all the money to do it.
It takes us all to do it, as what he told me earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, with On Fire Concerts, a concert agency that I hope to be booked with soon, my dear friend, Mr. Ron Johnson. Ron, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Caden. Thank you for having me today. We've been trying to get this done, but our schedules have just been so crazy, and it just hasn't worked. But it did today, so that's good.
That's right. Now, Ron is with On Fire Concerts, and that is a concert booking, that you do your own concerts.
Yeah, what we do is somebody asked me this the other night at our Millsap concert. I rent a venue, I book the artist, I pay the artist, and we sell tickets and hope we survive it. But that's how it works. You find a venue, you find the artist, you put it all together, and you sell tickets. I've been doing it for 20 years, and we've been blessed. And of course, we do, like yourself, we do a lot of artist interviews, but we're just not usually the one being interviewed. But I was proud to do this for you, and I was glad you asked me.
So he just mentioned one of the biggest stars in country music like it was nothing. He just hosted Ronnie Millsap. What was that concert like?
Oh man, I mean, you're still, who do you want to work with? It's like, you can name a few people that you think, you know, you would love to work with. And Millsap, Ronnie's at the top of that list with Garth and different ones, but I mean, for the next 2 months, like Saturday night, or we got somebody I grew up listening to, and I'm 61. But Ronnie Millsap was a hero of mine growing up. I mean, every time you turn the radio on, you was hearing him Ronnie Millsap hit. And I mean, with 40 number ones, and then next month or June, we follow them up with Oak Ridge Boys. So how much luckier am I to work with two of my heroes growing up, or to a group and a guy? I mean, there's nothing you can say. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people from George Jones on down the line, and I'm still in awe. We just go on and it goes on, and you think, and then you look back, like I look back now at last weekend and think, wow, I did Ronnie Millsap, and it's hard to believe, but I'm just honored that they would work with us.
So how does that, you talked a little bit about that, and like, okay, you and Ron is no stranger to the Spokane Man podcast. He watches me. He just never comments. So talk to us a little bit, because with Jeff, you got the video standpoint about how everything worked in the music videos, and how that worked. But with you, you're kind of behind the scenes a little bit, working with the
I mean,
artists.
once you book an artist, when I say, okay, who do I want to have in concert? So then you reach out to their agent, and their agent will give you a price, and they'll send you what's known as a rider that's got all the details of, beside the price for the artist, it's got other things in it like sound specs, what the sound systems, what they require for sound, so they get their sound, lights, hotel room, food. You go down to all the way down to the food, and you got to take care of the artist. Then you put it all together, and when day of concert or the day before, you set up your sound system. The artist comes in, they set up all their equipment and plug into the sound system, and then all the sound techs get together and get the sound right. And then when you get done, you got a final product, and I'm no sound guy. I know when it sounds good out in the audience, but as far as how you get to that point, I just let them do it. That's why I hire sound man, because I couldn't tell, I don't have a clue to do it from ground up because one, you don't, as a promoter, I don't have time to do the sound. And two, there's so much involved in sound. Um, I tell folks, I don't care who the artist is. You can have anybody you want to. If you got bad sound, you got a bad show. It's just that simple. It don't matter who the artist is. That's why so much work goes into sound. And then the artist does their things, and it's over. And you look back and you wonder sometimes, how did we put that together? But you do. You just at the time, I've been doing it so long, the process just takes over, and you just go through it. And then when you get done, you look back and say, I did that. But it's a fun world, and to do what we do, and I think this applies to artists. If we didn't love the music, you couldn't do it.
That's right.
If you don't love the music, you're in the wrong business to be trying to promote it.
If that's why I say I've heard it. Well, I've said it the best. I think I'm the only one that's ever said it. If you're in the music business for money, go be a banker.
Excuse me. I told a guy the other day, I said, I've been doing concerts for, like I said, 20 years. And I work 60 hours a week for another job, and I'm blessed I do it all from my home. But, it's one of those things, like you said, if I was in it for the money, I'd be hungry if it's all I had, and I'm strictly an old school country guy. I mean, the traditional country today, anything I can do to help do what little part I can do as a small cog in a wheel, I do for the music. And the artists that I work with, I told a gentleman today, we were talking about something, and I said, in almost 20 years of doing this, I've never worked with an artist that I can look back now and say, I wouldn't work with him again. Everybody that I've worked with in the past, I would more than happily work with again. And that's rare in 20 years of dealing with all the different artists, because sometimes what you see is not what you get, unfortunately. The image portrayed is not what the image is, in some cases. And I've been blessed from everybody I've ever worked with. I can't think of anybody that I wouldn't work with again. And I hope they feel the same about me, and I think most of them do, because we've worked with most of them more than once. So that's the whole thing. It's just keeping the music alive and flowing the best we can do, and what little we can do to help do that.
So Ron has not only his audience, or not only his concert promoting, but in the past couple of years, he's been getting into interviews. Guys like, William Lee Golden, he's interviewed him twice on his show. Richard Sturban with the Oak Ridge Boys, he's interviewed him a few times. What is it like from your perspective, a lot of the times doing interviews than doing concerts? Obviously the concerts are live, but
Well, I think the interviews is like, I got to interview Donna Fargo. I mean, I've interviewed Eddie Raven.
thank God for kids.
Amazing. And the things you learn, like Ricky Van Shelton and I talked for an hour one day. And the things you learn, that you think, it's like I told, who was it? Don Reed of the Statler Brothers. I spoke with Don, and I was talking to him, and I said he wrote a book called The Statler Brothers, an anthology, an amazing book. And we were talking, and I said, I read the book, and you think all there are to know about the Statler Brothers, and you don't. Because the book tells you something. You think, wow, I didn't know that. And that surprises you for some reason, that you didn't know it, because you think you know it all. You mentioned friend, William Lee Golden. I mean, I told William Lee this, so I don't care who knows it. I think William Lee Golden's the coolest man on the planet.
Oh, hands down.
There's nobody any cooler than William Lee Golden in my book. I've been in his home twice. I always thought before I ever met William Lee, he was the coolest man on the planet. After meeting him and being welcomed into his home twice, there's not even a no question. But when you read William's book, Behind the Beard, you learn things that you didn't not know, and you think you know it all about them because you've studied them, you've learned, you've listened to them, and you've heard stories and interviews, and so the interviews always bring out a little something different. And I forgot who it was now. I've interviewed so many people over the years. I've been doing it for 5, 6 years probably, but we go back. I think it was Stella Parton. I asked her something, and she was shocked that I knew it. She said, "So you've done your homework?" Well, that's those. I worked as a paralegal for a long time. Don't ask a question you don't know the answer to.
That's right.
So the interviews are so fun because there's one-on-one, like you and I, whether you're in person or on Zoom. And talk about Zoom. Before COVID, who'd ever heard of Zoom?
Yeah.
I hadn't.
It was all Apple FaceTime.
What's Zoom? And now, if you had stock in Zoom 10 years ago, now you're, but it's amazing how we do things nowadays. But the interviews are just so much fun because you're one-on-one, and I've become friends with people I've interviewed. Like, I've worked with in concerts. I work with T. Graham Brown, for example, every year. I've interviewed T. And of course, I think I know all about T, but I always learn something different every time I interview him. He'll throw something that you didn't know.
Yeah.
Sylvia, these people are just great people, and they'll take time to talk to me whenever I call them. Say, hey, let's do another, but they're just fun. And the fans and our followers, like yours and mine, they love these interviews. It's not the same old that they get when they turn on the TV. And I don't even watch TV no more because it's depressing.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. And I used to be a religious fanatic on news, following when news was on 5, 6, 10 at night. I wanted to watch the news and you think, well, it's the same thing you said yesterday. Somebody got killed, somebody blew up the school. Yeah, it's just evil, and it's just crazy. And now, if I don't see a news flash on, while I'm online or something that catches my attention and I think worth looking into, I don't care about the regular news anymore. There's too many things that we can do as people. I don't care what party you're with. I don't care what color you are. I don't care. None of that doesn't matter. I'm going to treat Caden like Caden treats me. And if Washington could figure that out, we'd all be better. So I'll leave it at that.
Ron, I hope I'm treating you good.
Oh, you are, man.
And hey, if you ever, do another interview and if you ever need anybody to interview, I got you, man.
You my guy. I know. I'll call Caden. We'll do one day.
Yeah.
It just, you and I were talking earlier. In the music world, I'm not Live Nation. I know I'm not Live Nation, but you don't get personalities. You don't get the personal touch like you get when you talk to Ron, that you may get when you deal with Live Nations, because they're so huge. It's not an individual, it's a corporation. And when you talk to Caden or Ron, you're getting personal as you get. You know, I told you, I don't care what somebody asked me in an interview, or I got a lady came up at Ronnie's show the other night with the newspaper, said, "You mind if I ask you some questions? I need to get them to you ahead of time." Why do you need to get them to me ahead of time? Anything you give me a week ago to look at, you can ask me. I don't need to look at what you're going to ask me. I mean, if I don't want you to know, I'll say I can't answer that. You know, but we put ourselves out here, so we're subject to answer anything anybody asks us. Is the way I look at it.
So is it just you working for the concert promoting?
I do it all. And I mean, I've got people that help me. Uh, you know, and I call in people when I need additional people, like Ronnie Millsap's show. I brought in a few people. Now, I don't have my own sound company. I've got a sound company that I use for most of my shows, and I've got 12 different areas, different sound company. But you know, as far as being in charge, and if you buy a ticket from On Fire Concerts or call On Fire Concerts, you're going to talk to me about your ticket. And any problem you have, I'm the one that you'll talk to deal with. So it's a personal touch, and sometimes some of these shows we're getting bigger and bigger every year, and you think, how does a one man do all the basic setups from getting the artist, from dealing with the big agencies that the artist may be with, getting sound in line, getting venue in order, everybody's dates lining up. It's a job, but after you've done it long enough, you just it's a process, and you just do it and you don't think about it, because if you thought about what was all involved, you think, I can't do all that, but you do, because we do it, you know, and it's just the way it is.
So you've interviewed, like you just said, William Lee, Richard. You know, you've interviewed
No,
Tia.
yeah.
You've interviewed a lot of people. Who was it that? Who was the one interview that you just said, "Man, I got to interview that person"?
Well, you know, you don't want to say the favorite interview, but the one that you got to say, okay, man, they took time to talk to me. That would be William Lee Golden, the first interview, and Ronnie Millsap. I got to interview Ronnie Millsap a couple of years ago, and you know, that's not to say that David Ball, that Sylvia, that I mean, there's 100 people I could name that we've interviewed. Leona Williams, you know, all these great superstars and legends, that Gene Watson, you know, that have taken time to talk to us. But just because you think, my wife will tell you that I don't know what the word no means. I mean, my dad was blind all my life, and when you would ask, you know, he say, if you say you can't do something, you've already beat yourself. There's no need of trying, because you can't do it. You know, if you believe you can do something, and I was like, Caitlin, let's do this interview today. No, I don't want to. Okay, you said no, but does that mean no tomorrow? Or does that just no today? Because I'm gonna call you tomorrow and ask you again. You know, you can't take no. Don't always mean no. It means don't give up trying. Just keep checking back. Sooner or later, they see your persistence. They see this guy. You know, look. What has he done? They look back at some of the other people you've interviewed, and then they say, well, you know, he's interviewed this one and that one. Let's give him an interview. You know, it doesn't hurt nothing. 15, 20 minutes out of their day. You know, that they're and we, as putting these out there, they know that the chances of them being seen by thousands are good. So it benefits them as it does us. You know.
And so it's come to that time of the show where I have to ask you, how am I doing?
Oh, you're doing great. You know, like I said, as far as being interviewed, I haven't been that many times. I'm on a radio show every Tuesday that they'll call me up and just talk about our shows and talk about what's happening since the last week. But they've been doing it for years. But as far as being interviewed, oh, you're doing great because I love to talk. I mean, it doesn't bother me if somebody asks me questions. It's like we've been doing this forever together. So there's no uneasiness. You make somebody feel comfortable, and that's important. And you're interested, so that makes it all worthwhile.
So you were talking a little bit about what goes in. You were talking a little bit about how it all goes from the agencies all the way down to the catering at the shows. What in a typical day in the life of Ron does it look like? You night of a show, right?
The day of the show,
Yeah.
oh, the day of the show is when you wake up in the morning and you think, "Is it over yet?" No, because it's going to be a long day. I mean, you have to get to the venue, and it's depending on the artist, but usually about every artist loads in the day of the show, meaning load in means they bring in their equipment and their sound and their band and their instruments. So the venue's got to open up. Now, as a promoter, I may or may not need to be there, but because that's not show, that's just them setting up. My sound people there, so I don't do sound. So really, I don't have to be there. You say that, but I'm there. I think I ought to be there, whether they ever need me for anything or not. But if they have a question, that the artist has a question about something unrelated to sound or setup, and nobody with the venue is there that can answer it because they didn't get hired by the venue, they got hired by me. I need to be there to answer whatever question may come up or issue comes up. I need to be the one to say, this is how we solve this. And so you do that. Then you open the doors, and when it's time for the show and people come in, and for 20 years I've been one of these that I greet people at the door of every concert I have forever, and whether that's a 250 seat place that we do over in a little place called Bell Buckle, or if it's a 600 seat like where we have Rodney the other night, I'm at the door. And our regulars know they're going to see me at the door. And that makes them feel good. When they come in, you say, hello, how you doing, Joe? They know, hey, he knows who I am. I know Ron, he's going to take care of us. It's going, and they know that they've been following our show so long now, it don't matter who the artist is. They know it's going to be a quality show because I'm going to do my best to make it that way, and we hope we bring the artist to do so, and we have, it seems. So.
You talk a lot about, talk to us a little bit about can you give us a description of what William Lee Golden's house is like?
It's amazing. The how would you say William's house, the history, and it's in the book, Behind the Beard. It's one of the oldest houses in Tennessee. It was built like 10, if I recall right, and if I'm off, it won't be much. But I believe like 10 years before Washington became president.
Yeah.
And it's a Civil War era, a war era home. The plant, and it's got just, I don't even know how many acres is there, but it's huge, and inside of it is just the only word I can think of is beautiful, because William Lee's got his trophy, the award cases, and his Navy grand pianos there where we do it, the room where we did our interview. There's paintings throughout, and these paintings of William Lee, and Simone, his wife, is she does paintings and everything, and she's with William on everything he does, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. The grounds are immaculate,
Okay.
Just beautiful.
You have to tell me how you got there. How did you set up an interview with him at his house?
Well, the interview, I don't even know. It's been so long ago. It's been a few years ago. William, being like I said, I told you earlier, I don't know what no means. So I sent a message to William one time direct, and I think put me in touch with somebody else. And long story short, we set the interview up. I said, so I have places over on what we call Music Valley Drive in Nashville. Like the Willie Nelson Museum is very good to me about me using the museum to do interviews in when I want to meet an artist halfway somewhere. Um, I said, so William, I got these locations we can use, or he says, well, what about my house? Works for me. Yeah. And so you're not going to say, no, William, I don't want to do it at your house. I just don't think that's, no, that's William Lee Golden for you. I mean, uh, it's just amazing. He says, no, let's just do it at my house. Come on out to my house. And so we go out to his house. A friend of mine, who was my best friend at the time, and he unexpectedly passed away a couple of years ago. But a great photographer. He went with me, and in the book, Behind the Beard, you'll see a picture from our first interview where we were leaving, and we looked back, and William was at the door waving. That wasn't a staged shot. That was William waving as we were driving out, and Jerry, my friend, turned around, just happened to see it and snapped. Didn't even focus, just snapped the camera. And that's that picture. And in the book, it gives credit to Jerry Overcast. But Jerry was my best friend for many years and great photographer, but he did the video of the interview for me. And then from there, William and I have spoken, regularly. And William is one of these people, once you talk to him, or if you've never spoke to him, the first time you speak to William Lee Golden, you think you've known him all your life. He makes you feel that easy. So, like I said,
family.
he's just William Lee Golden. That's all I can say about it. He's just a great guy. I tell people he's an American treasure.
That's right, he is.
And to me, he always will be.
So do you have any advice for people that are looking to get into what you're trying to do, whether it be concerts or interviews?
Into concert promotions. Well, if you want to sleep, you might not want to do that because you worry yourself a lot. I don't worry about things. I'm 61, so I'm to the point where I don't really, you just hope everything comes out. But it can be a stressful thing to somebody just coming into it. And when I started, and to this day, I have no major sponsors. It's me taking the risk. So you hope you know your audience, which I think I do. You got to know how to promote a show. William and I were talking recently, talking about William again. But you learn a lot from promotion if you read William Lee Golden's book. He tells stories in there about when he promoted concerts and how he got it years ago. But it doesn't matter who you have in concert, who the artist is. Without advertising and without promotion, you're not going to have nobody. It's that simple. So you can't think just because I've got a major name, I'm going to have a full house. If you don't let the people know you got the major name and when and where, you're not going to have nobody. So to do that, you got to spend a little money. you know, you got to make sure you spend in advertising. And it's just a lot of little things you can learn for somebody breaking into the business. I have never been one scared to try something. So you asked when we were off camera 20 years ago or thereabouts, I never had promoted a show in my life. Never thought about promoting a show in my life. My wife, who I just married but known all my life, she said one day, there's a song that changed my life before we got married. There was a song that changed my life. Now I was okay, what's the name of it? She said, but I can't think of who sung it. I said, so what's the name of it? And she told me it's a song called It Was Me. So I looked it up, done some searching. I played a couple. I said, is this it? Is this it? And one of them was it. It was by a gentleman named Michael Combs, who is just remarkable gospel. And the song will change your life. But long story short, she said, man, I would love to see him in concert at a church somewhere or something. I said, so bring him to your church. And she said, how do you do that? I said, I have not got a clue, you know, but we can find out. So long story short, find out who booking him or who his agent was, called him, set it up, took a shot, you know, and we had him in church. And you go from that one to another one, then you say, okay, that was easy. What about Jason Crowd? We brought Jason. So I started in gospel. Did that, worked with everybody in gospel, Southern gospel, and led in the country. So, yeah.
Ron, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today, and thank you so much for telling me some stuff that I never knew, and I hope to get you back on the show one day, and vice versa. I hope to be on your show one day, and
Oh, you will be. And I've seen your interviews with Blind Joe. Jeff Panzer, we were talking about earlier. A great interview. Jeff is an amazing guy, I think, from what I've learned about him in the last little while. But just your show is getting out there, and we are honored that you asked me to be on today. I am. So
Ron, I aside the interview part, I hope to do a concert with your people.
oh, you will, and we'll get together on that. So
And thank you guys so much for watching the Spokane Man podcast on Spotify. And I'm gonna call you after this just for a second.
okay.
And thank you guys so much for watching. And Ron, again, thank you, sir, for what you're doing for the music community and what you're doing so much for the world. And we need more people like you. And the day we are recording this is Memorial Day. So happy Memorial Day. And thank you to everybody who has served, is serving, and is going to serve. We thank you so much. And the Spokane Man podcast would not be available and would not be on if it wasn't for our vets and if it wasn't for our troops. So we thank you. Hats off to you, Ron. Thank you so much, sir. And until next time, my friend.
Thank you for having us. Okay. Thank y'all.
And yep.
Okay.